Hi YouTube, Timothy Unkert here. In this video, I want to cover functions in Dart. So let's get started and create our main function. We'll type void and then main, and then open and close parentheses, and open and close curly braces. Okay, we want to call a function. Let's call a function yell. Sometimes you hear invoke a function. And if we did this right now, we don't have this yell function created. So, well, let's just show you what would happen if we tried to run it now. So I'm going to do dart functions.dart, and we get an error and it says the method is not found. Okay, so we have to create this function. Now the first type of function I want to talk about is a function that doesn't take anything in and doesn't return anything. So that's what we're going to make the yell function. So if you notice with the main function, we type void, and well, the void means it doesn't return anything. So we're going to do void yell, open and close parentheses, then open and close curly braces, and let's just print. We'll do hello, all in caps because we're yelling on the internet. Okay. And now if we run this function, we just get hello. Okay, so that's kind of basic. We could really just do that in the main function. Let's create a function now that takes something in but doesn't return anything. So up here, I'm going to create a variable called my age, and I'm going to set that equal to 46. And then I'm going to call a function which is tell age, and we're going to pass in my age as an argument. Okay, so when we pass something in, when we're invoking a function, we call this an argument. When we create a function like void tell age, it's going to take an integer. We'll just call it age here. This is a parameter. Okay, so that's just some vocab for you, and all we're going to do here is just print your age is, and we'll use string interpolation, so $age years old. Okay, so again, this is pretty basic. We don't really need a function for this, but for demonstration purposes, we'll use one. So if we run this, we get your age is 46 years old. A third type of function, and this function is going to take in an argument and actually return something. So now we're starting to get kind of useful. All right, so let's get all rid of this stuff, and I'm going to create a double. I'm going to call it mynum and set it equal to 3.1, and I'm going to call a function cubeNum. And at first I'm just going to call the function. We're going to pass in as an argument mynum, and we're going to go down here and create our function. So this is going to return a double, so we're going to type double cubeNum, and then we'll take in a double called num. Again, you notice I don't have to match these, so I'm calling this num, but I'm passing in my num. So the parameter, I'm calling it num, and the argument, I'm passing in my num. But as long as the type is the same, so I'm passing in a double, and the parameter takes a double, we're fine. Okay. And all I'm going to do for this function, we're going to cube this number, so we're going to return num times num times num. Okay. So let's run this. And we run it and we notice that nothing happens. Okay, well, actually something did happen. This returned a value, but we didn't assign this to a variable or anything. So what I could do is I could do double and create my cubed num and set that equal to the cubeNum function, passing in my num as an argument. And now I can print my cubeNum. Okay, if I do this, now we're going to get something back. So we run this, and we get 3.1 cubed is 29.791, etc. Okay, so that's kind of cool. We can also have a function call itself. All right, so let's get rid of this stuff. And I'm going to create an integer. I'm going to call it mynum and set it equal to 5. And let's say I wanted to create a function that would find the factorial of 5. So if you're unfamiliar with factorial, we take an integer, you multiply it by itself times 1 less, all the way down to 1. So the factorial of 5 is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which if you work that out, that's 120. Okay, so we should get 120 back from this function. I'm going to create a function in a moment called factorial. And let's print out what the result of factorial is when we pass in mynum as an argument. Now we have to go and create the function, so we don't get an error here. So this function will return an integer, and we're going to take in an integer as an argument, and we're going to say, well, if num is greater than 1, really what we want to return is the number times the factorial. We're going to call this function of num minus 1. Okay, so we do 5 times 4, then times 3, then times 2, etc. Okay, if it is 1, we're just going to return whatever that number is at that point times 1. Okay, all right. So if we run this, we get 120 as expected. Okay, so what is this doing? Well, we're passing in 5. So this is taking in 5. 5 is greater than 1. We're returning 5 times the factorial of 5 minus 1, so factorial of 4. Okay, so we're calling 4, going here, we're returning 5 times now 4 times the factorial of 3. Go in, we'll do 5 times 4 times 3 times the factorial of 2, 5 times 4 times 3 times 2, and then we have 1, so we have 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, we get 120. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel.